Creamer Media's Mining Weekly Online is talking to Hugh Daniel, the Chief Executive Officer of Platinum Guild International, the Hong Kong-based organization that promotes the use of platinum jewelry. Hugh, can you tell us how platinum jewelry's been doing so far this year, and what the outlook is going forward?
Well, when we look at the outlook, we tend to look at the four main markets where we're operating, and we're seeing a lot of growth actually in the market. Jewelry had a good year in 2017, and that has impacted us. Obviously the platinum price is really helping us in many of our markets where we're competing against 18 karat gold. And so if we look around the globe, if we start with India, very strong growth there. We come back after a difficult year in 2016 where there was a lot of legislative disruption in the marketplace. We're back on track for India now to be a 500,000 ounce market by 2022-23. And then if we look across to Japan, growing there about 1 to 2% a year. Again, the price is helping us there in a very mature market where the consumer has a strong affiliation with platinum, and that business is responding very well to the price. Likewise in the US, strong growth there, about 10% on average over the last year or two, and that's really being driven by the price, and again a consumer that's really feeling positive about the economy and looking for more premium products. Then if we look across to China, although the total market has been a bit depressed, we're seeing strong growth certainly in the bridal sector, which year on year has grown very strongly for us. That's been the main area of our activity. And importantly, we're also seeing shoots of new growth there, with the trade really responding to some of the direction that we've been providing to really help them transition their business models into a more consumer-centric, commercial, margin-driven business model. So generally, jewelry is, we're feeling very good about the position of platinum in jewelry, and we look forward to a good year.
And all the input I get from the platinum mining industry in South Africa is that jewelry is the place to invest, because you get invest in promotion of the jewelry because there's such a good return, there's such a good response. What is the response like to investment going into the promotion of jewelry?
Well, I think the thing that always makes jewelry stand out compared to obviously the other demand sources is that it's created demand. So it's very much a consumer-driven, market-driven model. So it does respond very, very well to market stimulation. The modeling that we've done shows a kind of thermostat effect where if you invest, you get a return within 1 to 3 years. And the business has generally responded in that fashion over time. I think that what's also interesting is that we have very much a leveraged model. What do we mean by that? We mean that if every dollar that the mining industry invests gets that much further out of the jewelry industry itself, because of course what they're doing is they're building jewelry collections around the core collections that we produce. So you get this leveraged effect, which generally is 1 to 7. So for every dollar that the jewelry industry the mining industry puts into jewelry promotion, we get that leveraged effect. And that's really, really important, because it just means that we have a very efficient business model that can really drive ounces over time.
And are there any obvious opportunities at the moment where one could put promotional dollars into those opportunities and be hopeful of getting a good response for the platinum industry, which is very important to South Africa, but which is struggling at the moment?
Yeah, I think in every market we're always looking for new opportunities. If we take China, which of course is the biggest market and probably has the most opportunities, there is just, if we just expanded our footprint out into the tier 3 and tier 4 cities, just doing the bridal programs that we have now, we could expand the market considerably. We've identified something like 350,000 incremental ounces there. If we could expand our footprint out from the current 50 cities that we're in to the full 200 cities in those tiers. But there's also opportunities beyond bridal in things like love gifting. Platinum is very well known now in the core markets for its association with love as a symbol of love. We've been able to really appropriate that for the metal. So there are lots of opportunities, what we call love gifting occasions, not just around the bridal occasion, but post-bridal and even before. And then if we go beyond that, there's self-purchase. Self-purchase opportunities obviously in China, but also in other markets. One of the interesting opportunities we're looking at the moment is how to accelerate growth in men's jewelry in India. That's a market which is potentially 150,000 incremental ounces just by producing more branded collections into a relatively informal jewelry sector at the moment. Then if we go across to Japan, a category that we started to develop is what we're calling legacy jewelry. That's tapping into that very wealthy, slightly older consumer who's looking to pass their wealth on whilst they're still living by buying jewelry that they can wear today and give tomorrow. That's a very interesting category. And in the US, lots of opportunities there too, either in self-purchasing, which is a relatively new category for us to develop in the US. We've looked at bringing in these wonderful platinum jewelry necklaces, chain necklaces from Japan into the US market, and then looking even closer to our core business, which is the platinum engagement ring. How can we ensure that every diamond engagement ring in America, whatever metal it's set in, that the diamond is always held by a platinum head? There's 150,000 incremental ounces there if we could convert that market. Lots of opportunities. And if we look beyond that to other geographies, the Middle East, that's the 4th biggest jewelry market in the world. Very metal intensive jewelry there, primarily gold. Big opportunity. And then if we look at the other markets in Asia, for example, Vietnam, Indonesia, all those kind of markets where you've got up and coming, growing middle class societies, where you've got new consumers coming on stream, those are the kind of markets that we'd be looking for to develop for platinum jewelry.
But it's a contested market and you have to be in there and really doing things innovatively, and you also need the funds. Are you sufficiently funded to optimize demand for platinum jewelry?
Well, you know, you could always do with more funding. Any businessman will tell you that. I think we've been very fortunate in the support that the industry's given us and continues to give us, bearing in mind the current context of the industry. It's our responsibility in a way to bring to the industry the opportunities that are available. And it's also our responsibility to make sure that we maximize those returns, which is why we've been really working on that leveraged model. And in 2017 alone, we were able to generate something like $17 million incremental to what the South African mining industry has been putting into PGI from the jewelry industry to help supplement those supports. So, you know, you could always do with more money, but I think that the money that we have, we can do a lot with, and I think that's what PGI is certainly focused on, and finding workarounds. One of the things that we're doing is getting more into rapid prototyping that allows us to introduce new ideas quicker, and that's something that helps with make your dollars go further.
And a lot of the platinum mining companies are struggling at the moment. Are they able to contribute in the way that they have been doing in the past, or do some of them have to withdraw from helping to fund the PGI?
We have a pretty good complement of the industry now supporting us. Obviously, year by year, the absolute dollar amounts vary, but we have now 6 sponsors within the Platinum Jewelry Development Association, which is fantastic, and I believe everyone is contributing to the best of their ability.
And give us the bigger picture. How many ounces are demanded for jewellery every year, and what is the percentage of the total production of platinum that goes into jewellery, and where does it stand in that platinum demand hierarchy?
Yeah, so jewellery consumes about 2.5 million ounces a year, which represents probably sort of 35% of global demand at the moment. So we're probably second to auto. And if we look at the markets, obviously China's the biggest market, coming in at about 1.7 million ounces, followed by Japan at about just over 500,000 ounces. Then we go to the US at about 300,000 ounces. And then we've got India at about 175,000 ounces last year. But India, of course, is growing at the fastest rate. It's growing at about 24% a year. So it's certainly a market that is growing.
And are there any initiatives that can be taken to get men more interested in platinum jewellery? Are there any religions that sort of promote this idea of white metal that can be promoted?
Sure. Well, actually in the Middle East, Muslim men are forbidden from wearing gold. So that's an opportunity that we first really started looking at in India, because there's quite a big Muslim population in India. But yeah, I mean, that's obviously an area. But it doesn't even have to be necessarily a religious thing, because very quickly you find that actually if you go in with an insight-driven concept, you can really find a market. So, for example, in India, you know, although we originally were tapping into that the desire by Muslim men to find jewelry that they could wear, that quickly became actually a symbol of young urban success and confidence. So it became, in a way, a kind of more broadly accepted concept. And we do see, actually, in all the markets, a growing market for men's jewellery. But men's jewellery traditionally has not been heavily marketed. So really it needs to be stimulated. But I do believe there's a market there for that, especially among the millennial consumers.
That was Creamer Media's Mining Weekly Online, speaking to Hugh Daniel, the Chief Executive Officer of Platinum Guild International.